Good morning. It's Monday, May 3rd. And as I've titled this, just another mundane Monday. Not doing anything too spectacularly different today on the walk. Just gonna use what used to be my normal walk and jog along the creek. Might vary it if I see an opportunity along the way. It's chilly this morning. It's only 1 degree. So I've gone back to a jacket and even gloves and hat to start with, although I'll probably take the hat off. It's also cloudy, so in fact I thought I felt a little drizzle, but it won't amount to anything. The sun's trying to break through the clouds. So I hope everybody had a good weekend. If you've checked out my videos, you know I walked both days. Monday was a very long walk down all the way down to the Golden Mile Center and back through indirect paths. And yesterday I went over and parked by the marina and walked down the path along the lake on the other side of Broad Street all the way down to the University of Regina, and went into the academic green and discovered what I would probably call the quad, but apparently they call it the academic green, and discovered that all the buildings are locked and you can't get out of the green. So rather than retrace my steps, I wandered around a bit until I finally found a way out. So felt like a rat in a maze. It seems appropriate, I suppose, for a university campus where they have labs. So that was yesterday. And of course, we had the usual weekend things to do, like buying groceries and all that sort of stuff. Today, this week, going forward, the Tangled Stars now. May is the month of the Tangled Stars. Getting that finished. I think I'm ready now to push on past where I paused to do a recap. And I hope to do many thousands of words. Oh look, there's actually a little snow falling. It wasn't drizzle I felt. Also won't amount to anything. I hope. It is May 3rd. Probably couldn't see them on here, but there's some very tiny, sparse flakes coming down. Some Kickstarter stuff too. I've made the ebook of the first version available to the people whose backers rewards included that. Although I only did it in EPUB and somebody said they need it in Mobi, so I may have to do a second one there, or modify the transfer. We'll see. Still trying to get together all the ebooks I need for the other backers rewards. I have some, but not all. And I've got a lot of books to mail out as well, so fulfilling the Kickstarter rewards is a fairly major undertaking, should you ever decide to run a Kickstarter. Of course, the main rewards will be the book themselves, both ebook and print. And if you're just joining me, I kickstarted an anthology featuring guests of the second year of my podcast, The World Shapers, which is a podcast where I interview other science fiction fantasy authors about their creative process. Last year I kickstarted Shapers of Worlds, which was first year guests successfully, so I did it again this year. Big names, major authors like, oh, I don't know, Kelly Armstrong, Barb Handley, David D. Levine, Garth Nix. Very impressive list of authors and going to be some wonderful stories. And of course, even if you didn't get involved in the Kickstarter, that book will be available this fall from Shadowpaw Press. Shadowpawpress.com, where you will find the first book as well. It's also available everywhere. Any bookstore you might like to order from. In both print and ebook, and on Amazon you can get a hardcover version. I haven't done one otherwise, but I might do a hardcover for the new one. And I might go back and do a mass market paperback size for the first one, just to get another format out there. Can't help it, Roger. I have a note from somebody on Facebook that says there's no sound. I have no idea what causes that. Creek again. So if you're on Facebook, you're not hearing me. I can't help that. And I don't know who I'm talking to. If you're on YouTube, I hope you can hear me. Last time there was no sound on Facebook, there was sound on YouTube. I did nothing different, so I have no control over that. Maybe see the snow coming now. Not what I expected. At least I got my hat and gloves. So if you're on YouTube and you're watching, leave me a note. If you're on Facebook and you can hear, leave me a note, but I have no idea why sound would not work on Facebook today when it worked yesterday and I didn't change anything. Most people watch the replays rather than the live walk anyway. So if you're doing that, you have sound, I know, so enjoy the walk. We'll go down to the waterfall park, maybe, to make things different. So the guy that was just jogging in front of me is now down there. I don't know what he's taking pictures of. Nothing too exciting. Well, I guess I'm taking pictures of the same thing. Go across the footbridge where he is, and then this is all fog, but still no waterfall yet. It's an entirely artificial waterfall, obviously. So a creek will have water in it once it's running. Over here and walk along Elphinstone this morning, just to be different, a little different. If you're on Facebook and you can hear me, leave a note, so I know it's working for some people, but if it's not working, it's not working. I honestly have no explanation for that. I have no control over it. It's a Facebook problem, I think. So this actually cuts off a big part of walking along the lake, but I'm going to walk down the other side, I mean the creek, but I'll walk down the other side on my way back. There's ballparks over here, playground. If you're on YouTube, let me know if you have sound. I hope you do. If YouTube doesn't have sound during the live stream, it might be something I've done, but since I didn't do anything, I don't see how it could be. I mean, I could stop and restart the feed again, but it's not worth it for 2 people or whatever might be actually looking at it. The recording will have sound. Not that I have anything too exciting to say. I've talked about the Kickstarter, mentioned the Tangled Stars, my new space opera for DAW Books that I'm working on. Oh, well, every day this week I should remind people that this coming weekend is Flip the Script, which is a online musical theater concert by the Lyric Singers, which is part of Regina Lyric Musical Theater. I've sung with the Lyric Singers more often than not over the past few years. It's, you know, you audition every year, so it's different people every year. And this year, of course, we can't do the sort of chorus stuff we normally do. So it's an online concert of solos and duets and so forth. And it's called Flip the Script because it's gender swapped. So it's men singing women's songs, women singing men's songs. And I'm actually doing a quartet, a female quartet, singing all 4 parts. I recorded, videoed each part separately in front of a green screen, and I will be digitally edited together as I sing with myself. I pulled off the audio file just to make sure that the quartet sounded good, and it does. I had to edit just a little bit in a little a cappella section because the timing got off, which isn't too surprising. Hopefully they can fix that in the video version as well, but it sounded good. It was fun, and it should look very funny. I can't wait to see it. All 4 of me singing together. And you'll think the song that they gave me to sing is pretty funny for me to be singing too. Not to mention the spectacular costuming. And then my wife and I did a duet. She taking what's normally the male part, and I taking the female. And then our daughter Alice did a male solo, singing it obviously as a girl, which she is. So that's coming up on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I don't know exactly how the stream works. I mean, it starts at a certain time, but I presume it's then available for a certain time. And it's tickets at reginalyric.com. You could watch it from anywhere in the world. It doesn't have to be in Regina. If you are in Regina, you can also get a meal from the German club for $20 extra. The tickets are $25 Canadian. So if you'd like to hear me sing with myself and my wife, check that out, reginalyric.com. I took my hat off. I'm cold. My head's cold, but it was getting sweaty under the hat, so it's that kind of a morning. It's hard to decide. It's definitely chilly, as the little bit of a snow flurry I walked through back there demonstrates. Of course, we're running alongside Garnet Creek here. This way many times now in these walks, but they keep changing because the seasons change. When I started doing it, I was watching out for patches of ice. Haven't had to do that for a while. And of course the creek was frozen. Now it's not. Lots of birds around, and you can see trees are starting to green up very slowly, but you can see hints of it. If you look close as you walk by, you see it letting out. Another couple of weeks, and maybe things will be properly green, certainly by the end of the month. And then we get our short-lived summer, and then by August, there's a risk, could be a risk of frost again some nights. First frost is often in September. It can put off, but there's no guarantees. Sometimes the first snow is in September too. It doesn't stick, but and of course, we're southern Canada. There's a lot of Canada further north than we are. And even when you get to the Northwest Territories, Yellowknife is the south to them. People that live in the Northwest Territories. There's the creek. And on the other side, this is like a tradition now, showing the creek in both directions. You can definitely see the green in these trees. The duck having his say right there. Not sure what the commentary means. Don't speak duck. Not fluently. That's geese. Duck. That's about it. Bit of crow. And a little bit of pigeon. Pretty much, it's supposed to be less Sherman, not less Sure Anne Park. Someone has covered up the N or scraped it off, or it's simply worn off. These paths only wind for scenic reasons. It's not like they're, taking you around a geographical feature that has to be avoided. Soccer pitch over there. Quite deserted this morning. Usually I see, at least if I'm going to see anybody, it'll be somebody with a dog. So we had a skateboarder probably on our way to school. Probably heading to Sheldon Williams. And then there was the jogger, just kept stopping to take pictures. And then there's me. Otherwise, I have had the path to myself. And whoever is watching. But if you're watching on Facebook Live, apparently you can't hear me. If you're on YouTube and you can hear me, or even if you can't, drop me a note so I know what's what with that. Yesterday's walk, I didn't seem to have any live viewers, but it's picked up several now in the replay. And I think there were a couple on Facebook yesterday. Sound wasn't very good yesterday. High wind. Whenever I was walking into it, what I was saying was almost obscured. And there's no way to filter wind after the fact, not effectively. It's basically destroyed the signal before it gets to the microphone, or as it gets to the microphone, and there's just nothing there to, you know, peel away to leave the untrammeled voice. I have thought of getting an external mic, but a couple $100 to get what I would want seems a bit much. Oh, here comes some cyclists. Seems a bit much when I get maybe 24 viewers for one of these. So. The images are more interesting than my voice anyway, I suspect. I hope, since apparently I'm silent on Facebook today. I'll have to walk up to Mosaic Stadium again sometime. That was the last one where the sound failed on Facebook. Although again, the replay's fine, and you can watch that if you want to see Mosaic Stadium. Just go to my channel, where you may be right now. Edward Willett, 2 T's on YouTube. And my playlist is Walking in Regina, and it's piling up the videos. Got one a day. There's also other stuff there, music and stuff about writing events. Once the lyric show is over, I'll probably put up the video of me singing there, if I can arrange that. I'll certainly put the sound file up on my website. Last time I came down this way, I carried on further past Pasco, but I won't do that today. I had 2 really long walks this week, so today's a little shorter. Works for me. Got work to do. What if the sound fails because the signal drops at just the wrong moment? Don't know how to test that. At least I've only had one unstable internet warning today. Yesterday, down by the lake, heading to the university, the YouTube signal failed entirely and I had to restart from that point and make a second live stream. Easy enough to edit together after the fact for the replay, so there's just a little momentary glitch when you watch the recording. Fortunately, I caught it. It does give you a, on this app, which is, what's this app called? Prism live stream, I think, if you're looking for such a thing. I picked it up because it's what Gabe, the walking commuter in Manhattan, who inspired all this. Check out his station, join his thousands of viewers. That's what he uses to live stream his, so I thought if it works for him, it ought to work for me. And it does, but you're always at the mercy of the signal, and even in Manhattan, you'll get buffering, certain parts of Central Park especially. Okay, there's some wind noise again, I'm sure. North wind, maybe slightly to the northwest. Quite chill. This is Garnet Street. Pointed out before, that's Sask Express there. They're a performance group and training facility. So they have classes for musical theater and dance and all that stuff. And then they have a company that auditions each year, and they audition for each year, that tours the province during the summer especially. There's also a winter company, at least there used to be, I assume there still is. And the old gym down here, because this is an old school, there's a fairly nice little theater now. Merrick did 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee there a few years ago. I wasn't in it, but I saw it. It was very good. And interestingly, I see that there's going to be a live action movie version of that coming up, Disney's doing. It's a great show, and it does seem a natural for a Disney show. It's be a PG show, maybe PG-13, not really a G show, I would guess. Long straight walk here now, back to Elphinstone. That's the way I'm going to go today, instead of walking down by the Neil Bockwell Center. When I was jogging last fall, before I started live streaming, and before I realized that jogging, my knees wouldn't take it, and all I did was hurt my knees, and then I couldn't do anything for a couple of weeks. And then as soon as I started up, my knees would start hurting again. So I think I'll stick to walking. Anyway, you can see this is a bit of an uphill, and you really notice that when you're, at least I noticed that when I was jogging. It was a great relief to get to the crest of, if you want to dignify that incline with the term hill, right up here where the parking lot opens up to the right, and then you were going downhill again and then flat. It was a great moment, not as noticeable when I'm walking, especially not after having walked every day for over a month now. And my knees did bother me a bit when I was walking, but they seem to have toughened up and haven't caused me any problem now for some time. So I'd knock wood if I had any handy, and if I believed in that superstition. Oh, I'm gonna switch hands. That hand for some reason is getting quite, sorry, I got to pull that off the glove so it's not doing very smoothly. There we go. For some reason that arm was getting quite sore this morning, which it doesn't normally. dove over there somewhere. Well, I did, not now. There we go. I think that's a dove. If you do happen to be watching on YouTube, let me know you're there, and let me know if you have sound. Because apparently Facebook, if you're watching there, you can't hear the fact that I'm asking if you have sound. If you're not here, put your hand up. Someone's put up extra signs urging people to slow down along here. It's very hard to remember this is a 30 because it's not a school, and that's what we associate the 30 with, school zones. I'll put it back on my other hand again. And yes, I see the sign, but I don't believe I've ever seen a kid along here, so it's hard for people to remember. It's because of the park over here to the right. There's the soccer pitch we walked down the other end of. We're just going to keep going straight this time, right down to the light, and go down Elphinstone, catch the north dike on the creek for the walk home. I kind of figure Mondays will be this kind of standard walk along the creek. Fridays are my walk around the lake. And other days, whatever I feel like doing. Weekends, most likely the day when I might drive somewhere, like I did yesterday. I could walk from here all the way to the university and back. Based on yesterday, it would take about at least an hour and a half. It might take an hour and 45 minutes, which is a bit much. So I went and parked closer. And I could do that, of course, anywhere in the city if I wanted. Maybe I'll go out to the southeast corner sometime, or up to the northwest corner. All sorts of possibilities. The point is walking, so I don't want to spend all my time driving somewhere when I have limited time, which is more typical on the weekday. Although this coming weekend will be another podcast weekend. That always eats up time. It takes me about 4 hours to do the transcript, another hour to assemble the episode and get it posted. So 4 to 5 hours on the weekend typically for one of those, or more if the transcript is one that's kind of really messed up and needs a lot of work. I hate seeing lost cat posters. Our cat is an indoor cat, 100%. In fact, the contract we signed with the breeder said he had to be an indoor cat. I don't think that's enforceable, but they did put it in there. Also had to have him neutered because they didn't want their line to be spread around, but I would have done that anyway. He comes from now defunct, I think, because they had a fire, unfortunately, but it was a breeder in West Virginia, I think. I don't think it was Virginia, I think it was West Virginia. And was actually found for us by Betsy Wolheim, who's one of the two women who own and are the publishers and editors for Daw Books. The other being Sheila E. Gilbert, who's my editor, and who's patiently, I hope, waiting for the Tangled Stars. Margaret Anne and I both love cats. I grew up with a cat. Hadn't had one in years. Margaret Anne knew she was allergic. And we had read, or Betsy said, that anecdotally Siberians, people who are allergic, could live with Siberians, and she is in fact allergic and lives with a Siberian, who happens to be our cat's uncle, actually, Roscoe. So she had this connection with this cattery, and went down there to visit sometimes and to look at kittens, and had found kittens for other members of the Daw family, other friends. And so she went down and showed us some pictures from a litter. And did that just say YouTube quit? I don't know. I don't think so. Anyway, I'm not going to restart it now. Even if it did, I'll just post the finished one. And she found this one little black kitten who would roll on his back to have his tummy rubbed whenever anybody came around. And that was endearing. He was tested and found to be very low in the main allergen. There's several, but there's one main one that people who are allergic to cats are typically allergic to. And they said it would likely decrease when he matured. So we took him. And Betsy and her copy editor, who had a connection, that's where the connection was actually, the cat was through her, went down to Baltimore, met the breeder coming the other way with our cat, and picked up the kitten. He was about 4 months old then, and brought him up to New Jersey, where I was staying with Sheila. So I'd flown down there. Sheila has a 3-story house with the top story, the attic really, converted into a sort of little apartment space with its own bathroom, this little bedroom and bathroom. And it's completely shut off from the rest of the house, so you can have the cat up there, and the other cats in the house don't get too upset about it. And they drove up to New Jersey. This was in January, in the middle of a snowstorm, which our cat, Shadowpaw, where we would end up naming him. I don't know if we've given him that name yet or not. Alice gave him the name based on the naming of cats in the Warriors fantasy novels. And I met him and got to know him, and spent a couple of days in New York, meeting with my agent and visiting the Daw offices, and getting taken to a Broadway show, Newsies, all that good stuff. And then I flew back with him. He traveled very nicely in a carrier under the seat. Very quiet, nobody knew he was there. And he was a good traveler. Like the minute we got home and opened up the carrier, he didn't run off and hide. He was immediately out and about and exploring. And he's been our cat ever since. He'll be 9 this August. So sort of prime of life at the moment. Hopefully good for another few years. He's been a really great pet. It's not much of a lap cat. If he jumps in your lap, it's quite an honor. They'll let you pick him up and pet him for a bit. He likes to flop on the floor still and get petted down there. His belly and chest, he's quite good about that. Good at letting himself be brushed, which is good because Siberians are a semi-long hair. And without a brush, his fur mats, especially certain times of the year, they seem to molt a bit twice a year, and their fur starts coming out in clumps as the new coat comes in, and he'll look kind of ragged for a while. But that must be over because he looks really smooth and sleek right now. We call him a black cat, but he's actually got quite a bit of gray on his underbelly and his mane. Siberians have a substantial mane on their necks. They're a self-bred breed. Basically, they bred themselves on the streets of Russia. So they're adapted to the cold. They have the coat, and they have fur between their toes, sort of big feet. So I highly recommend Siberians as a pet if you're looking for a purebred cat. And Shadowpaw is no longer with us. If we are still with us and we get another cap, probably be another Siberian, based on our experience with him. He was very well I've lost the word. Habituated? I don't think that's the word they use. To humans. Socialized, maybe. I played with him a lot as a kid, and there was videos of him on YouTube before we got him playing fetch, because he would, I probably would still do it, I haven't done it for a while. We could throw an old bathrobe rope down the hall upstairs, and he would run and bring it back. Cat version of fetch is usually grab it, bring it part way back, and then run off and hide it under the bed. So it wasn't quite like playing with the dog, but he did play fetch. And unzip my coat now, almost home. Haven't had any notes from YouTube, so I don't know if anybody's watched live there. And on Facebook, I'm told there's no sound. So I won't even ask you to leave a note. Unless you can hear me, then leave a note and tell me you can hear me. Otherwise, you're watching this on the replay and none of that matters. Okay. Not far from here now. That'll be the SARS. That's the air ambulance helicopter. It lands at the General Hospital, which I've walked by once, over on the other side of past Broad, sort of directly east of downtown. That's not far away, so we hear the helicopters fairly often. Oh, yes, that's Garnet Street where I used to live. About 3 doors down on this side. House is still there, unlike some of the ones around it that have been replaced by bigger modern ones. The one I lived in is just a little box. Things like my horizon seems particularly off today. Let me just change the way I hold my wrist and they do that. I've tried to fix it using a different app, but it still wanders a bit. I think it's probably because I don't hold my hand in exactly the same position for the entire walk. Bigger, newer houses like that one. It certainly wasn't here when I first lived in this neighborhood, or the one beside it, or the one next to that, or the one next to that. A lot of the old ones are going, or the ones to my left here for that matter. These row houses were here and have been here for 100 years. And more now. I presume it's a condo place now, the way that's run. It always was. What's all this then? Going on up the head of this. Looks like I should walk on the other side instead of this side maybe. And I don't know why I'm talking like that. Sit if I can. Okay. Let's just avoid whatever that work is, in case the sidewalk is blocked. I think there might be a big pile of dirt on it. Tearing up something, driveway or something. Yeah, somebody's tearing up their driveway, it looks like. Just another block or so. So how long was this one today? Just that sort of standard walk. Yeah, this is more like a 45-minute walk as opposed to my hour and a half on that I did on Saturday. Yesterday was, well, the walk itself was about an hour and 6 minutes, but what with driving there and restarting the stream in the middle, it was probably more like an hour and a half too, that I was away from the house. Garnet Street. And of course, this will take us to my stop sign I usually use as my symbol for when to stop the feed. Another walk in the books. That crow always catches the corner of my eye. Just for a minute I think it's real. Or there's a cat sitting there is what I sometimes have thought. Well, the first few times I've walked by it. Okie dokie. Here's the stop sign. So, if you watch this on Facebook and have no sound, you don't know I'm saying goodbye, so I won't bother. If you watch this on Facebook and did have sound, thanks for watching. If you watched it on YouTube and had sound, thanks for watching the live stream. And if you're watching the replay, thanks for taking a walk with me. I'll be back tomorrow. Bye for now.